Louisiana cops used a warehouse to beat and torture people. Louisiana police beat and illegally strip search people inside a torture warehouse, according to a lawsuit. The latest allegations against the Baton Rouge Police Department were detailed in a lawsuit filed Monday by Ternell Brown, a 47-year-old grandmother who said she was taken to a torture warehouse after officers making a traffic stop found bottles of legal prescription medication in her car. You see the site there. What went on? Brown says in the lawsuit, officers pulled her over June 10th, searched her car without her consent or a search warrant. And during the search, the officers found Brown's prescription medication, which she told them she had a prescription for, the lawsuit says. Now, the officers incorrectly told Brown that it is illegal for her to have different prescription pills in the same bottle, and then took her to the so-called Brave Cave, the document states, the insider, with details there. Now, according to the lawsuit, the Brave Cave is a Baton Rouge Police Department warehouse that the Department Street Crimes Unit has adopted as their home base over the past several years. The facility is not a jail and has no correctional staff. Again, insider with details. She was forced to show officers that she was not hiding contraband in her vagina or rectum. Baton Rouge woman's complaint stated. After more than 2 hours, they let her go without charges. Brown's lawsuit, which also named the city, the parish of Baton Rouge, and several officers as defendants, was filed a month after another resident, Jeremy Lee, filed a lawsuit alleging that in January he was taken to the Brave Cave and beaten by officers. NBC News 4 with that part. There's a history of beatings at this Brave Cave. So let's run through it. Baton Rouge police arrested Jeremy Lee January 9th without reasonable suspicion. The lawsuit says during Lee's arrest, one officer threatened to beat the living crap out of him and argued with bystanders who tried to intervene, the complaint alleges. Now, the officers took Lee to the same torture warehouse where Mrs. Brown was sexually humiliated rather than taking him to jail, where they repeatedly punched and kicked him. The officers then tried to take Lee to the East Baton Rouge Parish prison, visible injuries, where officers turned him away and said he needed to be taken to the hospital, according to the complaint. One of the officers involved in Lee's arrest resigned shortly after, but none of the involved officers were ever disciplined by the police department, according to the complaint. Insider and Mayor, I want to take it with that last sentence in the reporting. None of them were ever disciplined by the police. It's as if it's referencing internally. What I just chronicled there, Mayor, it requires almost international intervention here. Torture, mysterious site, sexual violation. Unpack it for us.
Yeah, I mean, the reason there's been no discipline for it is simple. In the eyes of police and in America, no laws have been broken. You just beat a few Negroes across the head, right? We live in a country where when you are in cities that are 53% black, like Baton Rouge is, you can do this. You can have black sites. When you wanna paint black people as other and sexually assault them, sexually assault that woman in this manner with government dollars, then it's absolutely legal. This is not the first black site we've heard of, like America didn't just go through this during the war with other people's citizens. We found out in Chicago, they had a black site where they were beating and killing sometimes black and brown people. Now it's happening in Baton Rouge. We have to understand that policing is not working. And until we're honest with that, well, let me correct myself. Policing is working just as they planned it to work. It's just not working for black and brown people, especially black people. This would not happen to any other people anywhere else in this country except for black communities. The sad part about it is it's when people say, oh, it's just a few bad apples. A few bad apples running an entire facility. A few bad apples saw this man come in beaten and bruised so bad that they said, we can't take him here. He needs to go to a hospital, but nobody reported that and no follow-up, no investigation was done? Please, this is not a few bad out. This is institutional, and it's not just Baton Rouge. In this case, it is, but it's policing in this entire country.
It is. The orchard is rotten. The entire orchard has got to be burned down. It's just not working. And it seems that this pandemic is never ending. This brutality of Black people is never ending. It's a pandemic. And so while we'll talk about some other things that the feds are doing today, when do we in our bodies and our blood that spills get the respect that a pandemic that is killing us, maiming us, deserves? What should the response be to finally bring this to a conclusion here? Because it seems that we expect it, and I don't put it on us because as Black and brown people, we're certainly calling it out, but we certainly expect it. We teach our children to expect this and try to bob and weave and stay alive. But it's kind of a as-run story, even though we have horrific details time and time again.
Yeah, I think, and this is what I mean. If you saw Cori Bush's testimony a couple days ago on the Judiciary Committee, we saw her grilling Garland about like, listen, while the world want to play politics and put all the attention on Hunter Biden and everything else going on, let's talk about what's really happening with the Justice Department, how we are prosecuting more lower level Black and brown crimes while we're letting corporate criminals walk free. We're prosecuting less and less white collar crimes. And I think when we talk about this, when we see that even at the federal level, while most of the attention is on Trump and another case, Hunter Biden, but most of the charges, most of those people who are being charged are Black people, and there's no national cry to address the racial biases that exist in the Department of Justice with the state's attorneys, right? These attorneys across this country. And I think, I honestly believe to my heart that until we are laser focused on eradicating policing as we know it right now, we can't deal with this wholeheartedly or fully. I cannot honestly tell Black people to call the police if you're scared. Call the police if you want to be scared, if you want to be frightened, if you want to be hurt in the Black community, then that's what you should do. We saw a 13-year-old kid this year get shot for calling, trying to protect his mom. His mom boyfriend was beating him. I can tell you so many instances where you should not have been damned, but just because you were Black, you were by the police who supposedly are supposed to be protecting and serving you, and we've never seen it in this country.
I couldn't agree with you more. We've been indoctrinated too. And what you just said was emphatic. It made perfect sense. And I would only call for bold, declarative sentences when we talk about the history of policing. It was not born to protect people who look like me. It was the opposite. It was to catch us, to kill us, and to harm us. And that is systemically playing out today. So we've been indoctrinated to soft pedal it so many times. Men in positions of power, women educated such as yourself, we all have a right to speak about it. But I would challenge us to collectively tell the unadulterated truth. Just speak the truth. Is it possible, Mayor?
Yeah, it would be if it wasn't so much money in policing, right? We know that. Like if we're talking about the origin of policing in this country, then we're obligated to go back to slavery. I know people don't want to hear that, but take my state, for instance. North Carolina had zero prisons when slavery ended. But as soon as they eradicated slavery and in the Constitution, right after Reconstruction, they said prisons were mandatory. And the state has 600 prisons now, or 600 jails and prisons. Think about that. How you go from nothing to that many places to lock people up? The crime became Black. We know that. They created Black codes to lock people up, and we can act as if that was a long time ago, but my grandmother was living during that. My dad's mother was alive during this period. So I'm telling people, we can pretend all we need to be comfortable with ourselves. Policing in this country is not working, and we know that because we got more police, they got bigger budgets, they got bigger weapons, more guns, more tanks, and crime is going through the roof. Right? This idea, we need to be honest that poverty is the biggest driver for crime. And if we really want to fight crime, if we want a war on crime, then we have a war on poverty that we actually are fighting in a way that empowers people to alleviate themselves from spaces that big corporations put them in, meaning they got to work 2 and 3 jobs, still not be able to pay their bills. That's how we eliminate crime.
It just is so disheartening. It's so disheartening to see this kind of situation in Louisiana and all the sister neighboring states, jurisdictions, parishes, whatever, to see that this goes on. And the fact that this woman is telling a story, remember, no charges. They didn't try to take her to the jail afterwards. Look what she says was done to her, and I believe it. It's so brazen and so rich. It's not something that is done quietly. What don't we know? I'll give you the last word.
I mean, that was the question right there. What don't we know? I mean, if this, we saw that there's body camera footage of them with this young man in there. Why do you have this young man in a position where you need to question him, where there are no officers to watch over him? There's no checks and balance in that building. This is absolutely disgusting. This is terrorism. And we need to revisit what Malcolm X said. We need to stop talking about civil rights violations and talk about human rights violations, and take America and our institutions to the United Nations and make them be held accountable there, as they do African nations when they're strong men in power over their violating people's human rights.
Wow. Well, it's a story that we've got to keep an eye on. I don't understand why someone would be allowed to, well, I do understand why someone would be allowed to resign and no one's been held criminally liable or investigated. Where does that stand? That this woman, a victim, has to file a civil lawsuit. What about the public? There's a gang on the loose and they're in danger. So it is a story that Indisputable will continue to follow.